That night, a single message buzzed and silence swallowed the compound like a warning. Adewale read it twice, his hands shaking, while someone unseen smiled in the dark. By morning, friendships cracked, whispers chased him, and danger wore a familiar face. What followed would bend loyalty, test truth, and leave a whole street stunned. Gather closer, dear listener, and follow this tale by subscribing so the drumbeat of stories continues. Adewale was a quiet Lagos banker in his early 30s, tall, soft-spoken, always neatly dressed, known for patience and honesty, living in a shared compound at Surulere with neighbors who trusted him deeply. His closest friend Kunal was loud, charming, and street-smart, a car dealer with quick laughter and quicker temper, often visiting Adewale after work to share stories, jokes, and dreams over evening food. There was also Saad, a confident fashion designer renting the next room, sharp-eyed, independent, and kind. She treated Adewale like family and often warned him that smiles in Lagos sometimes hid knives. Every morning, the compound woke with generators coughing, women selling akara, shouting greetings, children running barefoot, and radios playing news, while Adewale prepared for work, believing hard work would always protect him. Yet beneath this routine, Adewale carried quiet worry: his salary, delayed rumors of office politics, unpaid bills, and the pressure to help family back in Ibadan weighed on his chest, though he spoke of it to no one. Kunal, meanwhile, boasted of sudden money, new connections, and secret deals, his clothes getting flashier, his visits shorter, his phone always buzzing with messages he refused to explain when Adewale asked gently. Saad noticed tension growing like harmattan haze. She sensed envy in Kunal's eyes and fear in Adewale's silence, warning him one evening that change was coming whether he liked it or not. Unknown to them, all the compound itself listened as walls held secrets, footsteps lingered too long at night, and one small message waited like a match near dry grass, ready to change everything. The problem arrived at dawn when Adewale's phone vibrated with a message accusing him of fraud at his bank, threatening exposure, arrest, and shame unless he paid immediately, leaving his breath short and his mind racing. He whispered, "I have never stolen anything," as sweat soaked his shirt, fear flooding him because the message quoted private office details only few people knew, turning suspicion into cold certainty. Before he could reply, another message arrived naming his manager, his account number, and Kunal's nickname, laughing through text, promising police by sunset if silence continued that night, together mercilessly. Adewale's hands shook as he typed denial, then deleted it, imagining handcuffs, headlines, and his mother crying in Ibadan, the injustice crushing his chest with helpless rage and confusion mounting fast. He ran to Kunal's room, pounding the door, shouting, "Brother, help me." But music blared, no answer came, and neighbors watched with curious eyes as tension thickened quickly around everyone. Saad found him later, shaking on the corridor, and listened as he explained everything, her face tightening, while she said, "This feels planned. Someone close knows too much about you." Fear spread through the compound, whispers grew louder, phones buzzed, and Adewale felt judged already, as if guilt had chosen him, without trial or mercy from every watching neighbor present. As night approached, Adewale stared at the message timer counting down, knowing a response would decide his fate, yet silence felt like walking toward a cliff, blindfolded with pounding heart. The real obstacle revealed itself when Adewale's manager called, sounding distant, cold, and formal, saying auditors had raised questions and advising him to stay reachable, which turned fear into living fire. Adewale pleaded, "I am innocent, sir," but the line ended abruptly, leaving him staring at the phone like an enemy that refused mercy or explanation as panic tightened around his chest. Kunal finally appeared later, smiling too wide, asking what was wrong, pretending ignorance. Yet his eyes flickered when Adewale mentioned the message, making doubt stab deeper than fear. That evening, another message came demanding money by midnight, attaching edited documents bearing Adewale's name and signature, proving how far the enemy was willing to go without conscience. Adewale rushed to withdraw savings, but the bank app failed repeatedly, each error message mocking him as if fate itself had joined the conspiracy against his honesty. Neighbors began avoiding him, mothers pulled children aside, whispers followed his steps, and Adewale felt the weight of judgment heavier than chains as injustice settled comfortably around him. Saad encouraged him to report immediately, but fear of arrest, humiliation, and losing everything froze him, leaving him pacing the compound like a trapped animal searching for escape. By midnight, the final warning arrived. Police sirens mentioned addresses listed, and Adewale collapsed onto his bed, realizing the fight had only just begun and mercy was nowhere in sight. Morning broke with Adewale barely breathing as messages continued taunting him with countdowns and threats, his phone feeling heavier than stone, while sleep-deprived eyes burned with betrayal and rising desperation. At work, colleagues avoided his desk, whispers floated like mosquitoes, and his manager summoned him, briefly speaking of investigations, policies, and suspension, without kindness, turning his workplace into a courtroom without defense. During lunch, Kunal called, sounding friendly, urging calm, suggesting borrowing money quietly to settle the issue, his voice smooth yet wrong, making Adewale heart pound with suspicion and painful realization. Saad secretly recorded conversations, searched online, traced numbers, and urged courage, saying truth leaves footprints even liars forget to erase, while she watched Adewale's spirit sink under crushing fear. Another twist struck when Adewale landlord hinted police had asked questions, demanding rent early to avoid trouble, proving the lie was spreading faster than truth could chase. Adewale confronted Kunal directly, asking if he knew anything. Kunal laughed loudly, denying everything, then stormed away, anger flashing through his mask, leaving silence heavier than words. That night, Adewale considered fleeing Lagos, but his mother called, praying for him, unknowingly strengthening his resolve as shame, fear, and love collided inside his chest. As rain hammered the zinc roofs, Adewale received one final message promising public disgrace by morning unless obedience followed, and something inside him finally broke, then hardened. My people, if your heart drums with this moment, stay with the fire by subscribing so the story may reveal its hidden path. The darkest hour arrived before dawn, when police knocked loudly at the gate, sending neighbors scrambling as Adewale froze behind his door, heart racing, convinced his life had already shattered beyond repair. Saad whispered through the wall, "Stay calm, breathe slowly," but her own voice trembled, showing fear could touch even the brave when injustice dressed itself as authority. The officers questioned him briefly, then left with a warning, yet the damage remained because the compound watched in silence, already judging him guilty without hearing his truth. After they left, Adewale collapsed onto the floor, shaking, feeling smaller than ever, his dreams, his name, his future slipping like sand through tired fingers. He muttered, "Maybe I should just pay and end this pain," tears soaking the cold tiles as shame wrapped around him tighter than ropes. Saad knelt beside him, saying no storm lasts forever, but her eyes searched his face, hoping he would believe what she herself feared might be untrue. That morning, his bank officially suspended him pending investigation, cutting his income and pride, leaving emptiness where confidence once lived quietly. Alone in his room, Adewale stared at the ceiling, sensing this suffering was pushing him toward a choice that would either destroy him or awaken something hidden inside. Hope crept in unexpectedly when Saad returned, breathless, holding her phone, saying, "I traced the message metadata and the number routes back to someone nearby," shaking Adewale from despair. She explained calmly that Kunal, careless boasting online, left digital footprints linking him to fake documents and burner numbers, exposing the truth hidden beneath friendly laughter. Adewale felt shock, then anger, then clarity flooding his chest as memories replayed, Kunal's sudden wealth, secret calls, and false concern aligning into one painful picture. They confronted evidence together, screenshots, recordings, timelines, building a quiet weapon stronger than fists, while Adewale's voice steadied for the first time in days. He whispered, "So my brother chose my life to save his own debts," and Saad nodded sadly, saying envy often wears the face of friendship. With courage growing, Adewale decided to face authorities directly, bringing proof rather than fear, choosing truth as shield instead of silence. That evening, Kunnal sent another threat, unaware the tide had turned, promising exposure while unknowingly sealing his own fate with careless words. As Adewale walked to the police station under fading sunlight, fear still lingered, but hope now walked beside him, whispering that justice had finally heard his name. The confrontation exploded when police summoned Kunnal and Adewale together, forcing smiles to crack as evidence played aloud, filling the room with recorded lies and traced messages. Kunnal shouted denial, pacing wildly, accusing Adewale of framing him, but his voice broke when timestamps, bank records, and call logs appeared one after another without mercy. Adewale finally spoke calmly, saying, "I trusted you like blood. Why did you choose to ruin me?" His words quiet, yet heavy, silencing the room. Kunnal fell to his knees, confessing debts, bad deals, and jealousy, admitting he believed Adewale's success made him invisible, turning friendship into poison. Police moved swiftly, handcuffing Kunnal as he cried, begging forgiveness, reaching for Adewale, who stepped back, pain mixing with relief inside his chest. Outside, reporters gathered, whispers turned to shock as truth spread, reversing judgment like a sudden tide, washing shame from Adewale's name. Saad watched quietly, tears in her eyes, knowing courage and patience had beaten fear where silence would have buried innocence forever. As Kunnal was driven away, Adewale breathed deeply, realizing the hardest battle was not against his enemy, but against giving up when darkness felt endless. Justice moved quickly after the truth surfaced as the bank cleared Adewale's name, issuing apologies and reinstating his position, restoring dignity that fear had almost stolen forever. Neighbors who once avoided him now greeted warmly, bringing food, smiles, and excuses, showing how easily crowds follow lies then scramble toward truth when light appears. Kunnal faced charges and public shame, his flashy life collapsing as victims emerged, and the weight of his choices finally settled heavily on his bowed head. Adewale visited him once, listening quietly as Kunnal wept, admitting betrayal and envy, and though forgiveness hovered, Adewale chose distance to protect healing. Saad received praise for her courage, yet she reminded everyone truth matters only when someone is brave enough to defend it against noise. The landlord apologized, returning withheld payments, while the compound buzzed with lessons whispered about patience, evidence, and judging carefully. Though relief washed over, Adewale's scars remained, reminding him that trust once broken leaves echoes even after justice sings loudly. Still, as he slept that night, peace returned slowly, proving that innocence defended with courage can survive storms designed to drown it. Months later, life settled into a gentler rhythm as Adewale walked the compound freely, smiling again, working honestly, and greeting neighbors who now listened carefully, remembering how quickly judgment once misled them all. At work, he mentored younger staff, teaching patience, integrity, and record-keeping, saying success without truth rots quietly, while character endures storms that money and applause never survive long-term. Saad expanded her business, confident and grounded, often reminding friends to verify stories, protect evidence, and stand firm, because courage grows when fear is questioned instead of obeyed blindly always. Kunnal's story traveled as a warning, whispered in markets and offices, showing how envy breeds schemes and how one reckless message can collapse years of trust within moments, everywhere painfully. In the evenings, Adewale called his mother, sharing lessons learned, gratitude earned, and faith tested, telling her that silence helps lies, but patience guided by truth invites justice home eventually. The compound itself seemed wiser as neighbors asked questions, slowed judgments, and supported one another, proving communities heal when listening replaces gossip and empathy guards every conversation with care always. This tale teaches that messages carry power, choices echo loudly, and truth, though patient outlives deception, urging hearts to stand firm, document wisely, and trust light to find its way. So, dear listener, remember Adewale: when a message arrives, breathe, seek truth, and walk bravely, for justice may delay, yet it listens closely to those who refuse to bow down.